we believe Ethereum prices have actually bottomed. I think crypto prices have bottomed. In the next 8 weeks, we're going to shatter the Bitcoin 4-year cycle. I don't think it's going to be a 4-year cycle this time.
Billionaire investor Tom Lee, one of the most respected investors on Wall Street.
I have 3 jobs today. I'm the head of research for Fundstrat Global, which does macro and crypto research. I'm the chief investment officer of Fundstrat Capital, which manages 3 ETFs. And I'm chairman of the board of Bitmine Emergent Technologies, which today is the largest holder of Ethereum in the world.
Just made an incredible prediction for Bitcoin, for crypto, but really Ethereum, why he still believes Ethereum is going much higher in 2026. Just listen.
What does that mean for Ethereum's price?
In this first clip out of 3, Tom Lee makes the case that crypto in general is still early, and crypto to 200x from here in adoption. Let's react.
So if you're bearish on crypto or you think the best days are behind us because of the last 10 years, I'm going to disagree. Keep in mind today, there's only 4.4 million Bitcoin wallets that have more than $10,000. Okay. By contrast, there's almost 900 million individuals around the world with more than $10,000 in their retirement accounts. So if Bitcoin were to be held by all these accounts, that's a 200 times increase in adoption. That's still, to me, exponential and hypergrowth. And Bank of America Fund Manager Survey still shows 67% of fund managers have 0 allocation to Bitcoin. Wall Street wants to tokenize all financial products. And keep in mind, financial products today, if you include real estate, it's almost $2 quadrillion that they want to put onto the blockchain. And then, of course, in the agentic world, it's going to create a need for decentralized trust and security, of course, which is what blockchain solves. So to me, I think the best years are still ahead.
The math says we are still early with crypto. We understand this. By the way, like the video if you appreciate this content. I want to know what crypto is going to do in the next 6 months, the next 3 months, 2026. Well, this is interesting. Tom Lee goes on to make the case. We believe the Ethereum price has actually bottomed, and listen to his reason why.
We believe Ethereum prices have actually bottomed. Now, Bitmoin made a decision about 5 weeks ago to engage Tom DeMark because we wanted to understand what was happening with crypto prices.
Tom DeMark, as he's about to explain, heavily respected in investing.
Now, if you don't know who Tom DeMark is, he's a legendary market timer. At Fundstrat, I've used him to call 2 of the major market lows, the March 2020 low and the April tariff lows. Those were all in coordination and consultation with Tom DeMark. And Tom only has 2 clients today. We're his 2nd client, and he's very expensive, actually. Tom has advised us to dramatically slow our Ethereum purchases. And as you can see here, once we engaged Tom, we took a different strategy with regard to our Ethereum purchasing. And you can see our...
So as you can see right here, a few weeks ago, actually November 17th, so about 3 weeks ago, Bitmine drastically slowed their Ethereum purchases. That's bearish. Of course, that was 3 weeks ago.
Ethereum purchases fell by half to 50,000 a week. But we've begun to buy Ethereum again. You can see last week we bought almost 100,000 ETH, twice what we did 2 weeks before. And I will give you a hint, we definitely bought more than that this week because we believe Ethereum prices have actually bottomed.
Of course, Bitcoin's 4-year cycle dictates that this was our good year. Next year, if the 4-year cycle maintains, next year should be the bear market. Tom Lee had some interesting new insights on this.
But let's go back to the 4-year price cycle for Bitcoin because it's still hard to escape this chart. 3 of 3 times since the history of Bitcoin, the 4-year cycle, or 3.91 years, exactly called the top and the lows. So the question is, why is Bitcoin subject to a 4-year cycle? We asked the Fundstrat Digital Assets team to give us the 5 most logical reasons for this. There's the halvening cycle, there's monetary policy, margin debt. But the 2 things that I think have actually become more important in our view is gold versus copper, and then the ISM, which is just your traditional economic business cycle. So let me explain. So the halving could explain Bitcoin because the halving is pre-computed, but the problem with the halving cycle explaining Bitcoin's price is that there's a lot of other things that have a 4-year cycle. Presidential elections, Olympics, World Cup, etc. But there are some things that follow a 4-year price cycle that no longer follow a 4-year price cycle. And one of them is copper versus gold. And this is a tweet from AO BTC analyst. And we decided to recreate it, which is, let's look at the ratio of copper prices, which is measuring industrial activity, to monetary base, which is gold. And in the past, you can see it had a predictable 4-year cycle, except this time. And if you line it up with Bitcoin and copper, they actually line up almost perfectly. But copper and gold are not in a 4-year cycle now because that ratio should have peaked this year. Similarly,
so the only reason I don't, I think the ISM, what he's about to say, is much more accurate. Copper, I don't know if that's the best comparison because copper, you can mine more. There's not a finite supply like Bitcoin. So for me, other factors could explain that. To me, ISM, which we've shared with you before on the channel, by the way, guys, completely free. If you want to support me, click subscribe. We drop a video every single day attempting to share with you clips like this, give you an edge in crypto. Click subscribe, test it out. I think you'll find value. But ISM, to me, this speaks to me.
Is ISM. ISM is a measure of U.S. economic activity, and historically that had a 4-year cycle. But as you can see, the ISM is not following a 4-year cycle today. It's actually stayed below 50 for almost 3.5 years. If you line up the ISM to Bitcoin, you can see it almost perfectly explained every Bitcoin cycle, including the original Bitcoin price peak. So it's even more explanatory than the 4-year cycle. But again, this time the ISM is not peaking. So here's the question I'd ask you. If the industrial cycle is no longer following a 4-year cycle, and copper gold isn't following a 4-year cycle, I'm going to say I don't know if Bitcoin should follow a 4-year cycle. So I'm not in the camp that Bitcoin price has peaked. And the only way we'll know is if we make new highs in January, which is our bet.
So if the bears are right, if we have a bear market in 2026, worst case scenario, Bitcoin dips, mid case scenario, Bitcoin dips back down to the 70s. We have all the support. Worst case scenario for me, Bitcoin dips back down to this 200-week moving average where Bitcoin has returned every bear market, and that's around $55,000 today. Of course, if we break all-time highs in January, all bets are off. Elongated bull market. And what could that mean for the Bitcoin price, for the Ethereum price? This is what Tom Lee said.
Well, what does that mean for Ethereum's price? Well, I think Bitcoin's going to get to 250,000 within a few months. And if Ethereum price ratio to Bitcoin gets back to its 8-year average, that's $12,000 for Ethereum. I mean, that's a huge move. If it gets to the 2021 highs, that's $22,000 for Ethereum. But I think Ethereum is going to become the future of finance, the payment rails of the future. And if it gets to 0.25 relative to Bitcoin, that's 62,000. So I think Ethereum at 3,000, of course, is grossly undervalued.
So what Tom Lee just said is that if/when Bitcoin gets to $250,000 per coin, and to be clear, doesn't have to be in 2026. This could come into effect in 2027, in 2030. But he's saying when Bitcoin gets to $250,000 per coin, if Ethereum, that ratio Ethereum to Bitcoin, follows its 8-year average, which to me seems pretty conservative, That would put one Ethereum at $11,000, almost $12,000 per coin. If we have a little peak, a little blow off top like we saw in 2021, that could put Ethereum at the peak around $21,800 per coin. And if Ethereum wins, if Tom Lee's right, if Ethereum is the new financial system, that puts the price of one coin at $62,000 per coin. Can that happen in 2026? No, that'd be crazy to me, I think. I think something much more realistic to me is, let's say Bitcoin, let's be conservative. We listen to the great case, let's listen to the conservative case. If one Bitcoin gets to, conservatively, $150,000 by the end of next year, I think it's very realistic. Ethereum keeps its 8-year average just ratio ETH to Bitcoin. One ETH goes to $7,000 per coin. Maybe in a little blow off top situation, one Ethereum goes to $13,000 per coin. And then a decade from now, if Ethereum wins, then obviously anything is possible. Click the like button if you got value today. We're dropping another big interview tomorrow. You do not want to miss it. Like always, see you tomorrow.